Fans awaiting Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender will be pleased to hear the newest addition to the series. Netflix recently announced they'd found someone to play the most important character from the original series. We're of course talking about everyone's favorite, the Cabbage Merchant. Want to know who's going to be playing the Cabbage Merchant in the Avatar: The Last Airbender live-action series? Well, look no further, as we've got all the deets for you. Firstly, it's someone who you may already have heard of. The actor cast to play the Cabbage Merchant in Netflix's Avatar: The Last Airbender series is none other than James C. If that name rings a bell, well, it's because C is the original voice actor for the Cabbage Merchant from the Avatar animated series. Netflix is now bringing him back to reprise his role in the live action, and we can't really imagine anyone else being more perfect. C not only voice acted the Cabbage Merchant, but also the Cabbage Merchant's son, as well as the CEO of the Cabbage Corp in The Legend of Korra. Needless to say, he has a ton of experience in the cabbage merchanting world. The Cabbage Merchant is a recurring character who appears a couple of times across the Avatar: The Last Airbender series as a running gag. This joke usually involves him losing his cabbage cart because of the hijinks of Aang and his friends. And throughout the original animated show, despite him changing the locales of his cart from one place to the next, Aang and co. always seem to somehow find their way to him and ruin his day. Secondly, here's why James C. is the best man for the job. What made the character so memorable for most Avatar fans is of course the specific cry that he yells out every time his cabbages get destroyed, washed away, or eaten by a giant creature. Yeah, the last one actually happens. Because of this, it makes sense to just have the original voice actor reprise the role, as we really can't see who else would do more justice to the line. This is definitely the case where the voice work outweighs any potential acting chops that a more experienced actor would be able to bring to the table. And just considering that James C. has the entire lineage of cabbage merchants on his resume, no one else can match his experience in losing cabbages either. We can already hear him yelling out, "My cabbages!" Moving on, when will you be able to see the Cabbage Merchant lose his cabbages in live action? Netflix's Avatar adaptation entered into production sometime between late 2021 and early 2022. The filming is said to have taken about 7 months, and used some innovative new LED light technology while filming. While we don't really know what that's going to mean for the actual visuals, anything that's described as innovative is probably worth the wait, right? From what we know, the series is currently in post-production. With its filming wrapping up back in June, the series should likely premiere on Netflix sometime in 2023, assuming everything goes well. So if you can't wait to see James C. reprise the role, sadly you'll need to hold on for just a little bit longer. Finally, how much is this adaptation costing Netflix? Breaking cart after cart of real-life cabbages seems to be taking a toll on this adaptation. The live-action Avatar adaptation is one of Netflix's most expensive shows yet. With about $15 million being spent per episode, this comes out to about $120 million spent on just a season of 8 episodes. Needless to say, expectations should be through the roof for this particular series. Netflix is no stranger to dabbling in live-action anime adaptations with their Cowboy Bebop live-action series last year and the Death Note movie in 2017. But with both those having lukewarm reviews, at best, their level of success is all over the place. That said, the budget for the Avatar adaptation is almost twice as much as Cowboy Bebop's $60 to $70 million, and thrice as much as Death Note's measly $40 million. So Netflix is definitely putting all their eggs, or dare we say cabbages, in this basket. But with the original creators of the series no longer involved in production, we definitely have our doubts. Originally, the Netflix adaptation was set to include the writer and executive producer of the series when it was announced back in 2018. But later in 2020, the two exited the project over creative differences. If that doesn't raise red flags, then we don't know what will. In a lengthy blog post, Michael Dante DiMartino, the co-creator of the Avatar: The Last Airbender, even stated that whatever version of the series ends up on screen, it's not what the two had originally intended to make. Yikes! Sounds like there's some burned bridges and broken cabbage carts involved here. In other news, Keanu Reeves confirms his involvement in Netflix's Berserker adaptation. From movies to games, Keanu Reeves seems to be taking the internet by storm. But lately, he's working with Netflix on his very own comic book adaptation. The A-list superstar who co-created the comic book series Berserker recently confirmed that he will be heavily involved in its adaptation being done at Netflix. The original comic book series had a funding campaign on Kickstarter and raised over $1.5 $4 million. The Kickstarter page states that the graphic novel is divided into 4 volumes, each of which will include about 4 issues. While we're unsure of how much the comic will be covered in the anime adaptation, which is being worked on by prominent studio production IG, it was confirmed that it'll have 2 seasons. So it's likely a decent chunk of the story will get featured in the anime. And with Reeves involved in the project and describing it as a collaborative process alongside screenwriter Mattson Tomlin, the stars seem to be aligning for Netflix's Berserker series. Next, David Harbour thought Stranger Things would be the first Netflix series to not get a second season. Most people knew Stranger Things to be an instant classic the second they saw the first season, but David Harbour, who plays Police Chief Hopper, was seemingly not among them. The actor recently revealed that during the filming of the first season, he had his doubts on just how successful the series would be, and those doubts only continued to grow as production went on. So much so that he was certain Stranger Things would be the first Netflix series ever to not get renewed for a second season. He states that even at the time, Netflix housed some strong competition, such as House of Cards and Orange is the New Black. So a new name like Stranger Things managing to compete with these series and finding its place didn't feel realistic to him. While we're certainly glad Stranger Things become as much of a blockbuster hit as it did, we can definitely see where Harbour's fears were coming from. Even back then, Netflix packed a serious punch when it came to their series, and with Stranger Things having a mostly new cast, the large majority of whom were child actors, its future seemed flimsy at best. Still, even with the odds stacked against it, Stranger Things managed to spread like wildfire. To think that it went from a show with an uncertain future to the biggest English language series that Netflix currently has to offer is definitely somewhat odd. Well, stranger things have happened. Apologies to our viewers for that very much on-the-nose pun. Lastly, Tomb Raider movie sequel officially dead as studios look to reboot the franchise. The Tomb Raider sequel starring Alicia Vikander seems to have found a tomb for itself, and movie studios are already looking to raid the franchise for a potential reboot. Earlier this week, The Wrap revealed that MGM lost the rights to the Tomb Raider franchise after failing to greenlight a sequel in time. The first part of the video game adaptation came out all the way back in 2018, and the studio had until May of this year to begin filming a sequel or risk losing the IP altogether. And that's exactly what happened. The IP is now up for grabs as various studios are taking part in a bidding war. As a part of this trade, though, it's been confirmed that Vikander's version of the character is no longer attached to the property, and that the potential new iteration of the character would be a complete reboot. Currently, the rights for the Tomb Raider franchise has gone back to the video game publisher Crystal Dynamics, and they're looking for a studio to house the movie franchise. Taking a little trip down memory lane, and we can see that the Tomb Raider movies have never really been critically acclaimed. While the 2018 adaptation of the video game series did rack up about $275 million, it had highly mixed reviews. Over on this channel, we're just wondering if the possibility of Disney buying the movie rights to the video game franchise is a possibility. We know, Disney getting their mouse hands into everything isn't the best, but they already own the rights to Indiana Jones. And we'd be lying if we said seeing an Indiana Jones Lara Croft crossover film wouldn't make the inner kid in all of us squeal with excitement. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on James C. reprising his role as the Cabbage Merchant? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.